Hey there, Optimized Self Ninjas and Ninjets. This is Justin Archer here, aka proud sensei of the Optimized Self Dojo and host of the Optimized Self Show. I am so excited bringing this third episode to you. Sorry about being a little bit late. Mrs. Ninja, aka Anya, as many of you know her as, and I have been traveling a lot lately. We were just in Austin for a day, came back to Dallas, just kind of running around like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to keep up with work and such. But, hey, better late than never. So I wanted to get this out today to answer some fellow ninjas and ninjets questions. And yeah, it's going to be a little hectic, but then at the end of the month, we go, kind of my home back to LA to visit some friends and family, and things should calm down a little bit by then. So fingers crossed. But for those of you watching, thank you for sticking with me, bearing through this kind of hectic time that is the new year and first quarter for any of us who are in the making bodies better world, health, fitness, wellness, New Year's resolutions, not a lot of new people getting started. So just trying to be of service to you and provide as much value to you and anyone else watching that you care to share this with as possible. All right. So for those of you new to the show, just tuning in, like it you see on the screen, and you will see me in just a moment, the Optimized Self Show, for those of you who are not familiar, and also the website, optimizedself.ninja, thus the little ninja guy over there. We're all about rediscovering health, upgrading fitness, and optimizing wellness, all while having fun, kicking ass through lifestyle design. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, then definitely stick around. And also, all the content here on the show is dictated really by context. It's what you, the viewers, the listeners, the watchers, however you're taking this all in, what you deem most important. So if you, in the future, if you have any questions, and this is something I've been working to kind of consolidate, because a lot of people have been sending in emails, tweets, all over different areas, I would say the best place to leave a question, I'll show you here. Let me share my screen, and I know it's gonna go kind of into matrix mode. I apologize for that. If you go over to the actually, let me go over here. Sorry about that. Boom. So if you go to facebook.com/optimized self ninja, this will take you to the Facebook page. Go ahead and like the page. And then at the top, I've pinned this post here. Excuse me, that's not a toilet flushing. That is my waterlog app reminding me to drink some water, which I will in just a moment, I promise. So at the top here, there's a post that says, have any questions for the next upcoming episode of the Optimized Self Show that you would like for me to answer? Just leave them in the comment section below, and you can write them here. And if you see a question that you were going to ask, but somebody else has already asked it, just go ahead and like it. And what that'll do is help upvote it so it gets kind of filtered to the top of the list, so I know what's most important, because I want to try to be respectful of your time and everyone else's. And so I want to answer what's most important. Eventually, I'm going to get to all the questions, okay? I promise you. But I want to try to keep this show, to an hour, hour and a half, even less if possible. So I'm probably going to take the top 3 for each episode. All right. And so by putting your questions here, or also just topics that you'd like for me to discuss or talk on, or bring someone else who's, maybe more knowledgeable than me in that area, go ahead and leave your questions and suggestions here in the comment section. And again, like them to upvote them. Also, if you would like to come on as a co-host and be featured on the show, you can come on live with me. We can have a conversation and talk about whatever you deem is most important for you, whatever you're struggling with, whatever goal you're trying to achieve in terms of health, fitness, and wellness. I'd be more than happy to talk with you and help you as much as I can live on the show, because I believe, I have a lot to share in that, but also I think you do as well. We're all students, we're all teachers, and I want to build a community where it's mutually beneficial to everyone. Everyone is co-learning together, okay? So I'm sure people listening in on our conversation can learn both from our successes and failures. So if you're interested in coming on the show with me, talking about whatever you want, you can also leave that there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right, so let's get into the questions. Let me grab some water, and let me take off the screen sharing. I almost just hit the stop broadcast button. That would have been bad. And give me 1 second, grab some water like I promised I was going to do. It would also be cool to have you guys on with me, because this way I have to do all the talking. My mouth gets really dry. So it would be nice to have others on board too, so I can stop talking sometimes and just listen. All right, so let's take this off. And hey everybody. For those of you tuning in for the first time, hi, nice to meet you. So let's get to the questions. We just have a few here. Today we're going to be talking about hypermobility. If I look off camera a little bit, it's because I have some notes over here. Otherwise, I will go off into multiple tangents. It's crazy. So today we're going to be talking about hypermobility, breathing, posture, and its correlation with eyesight. All right. So some of these questions are sent in from members of the Optimized Self Dojo, which, if you're not familiar with, is basically a private community that has built-in accountability and support, and what I refer to as the Optimized Self Arsenal, which is a collection of tools, guides, and resources to help you, rediscover your health, upgrade your fitness, and optimize your wellness. You can check out more about that at optimizedself.ninja. Everything that's included in there. Okay. So first up, this is kind of a continuation. I'm sorry, no, it's not a continuation, but it's from someone who has asked some question before, Nivas, and this is from a Facebook comment. And he writes, hypermobility syndrome. Is this really a curse in terms of maintaining a good posture or posture alignment? And he has a follow-up question, but let's answer this first. So it's a good question. Hypermobility syndrome. Yes, it can be quite a curse when trying to attain and maintain proper postural alignment, because whereas some people may be very stiff and tight and not very mobile, or what people refer to as flexible, there are other people who are hyper mobile. They can touch their toes very easily. They're maybe double jointed. And here's the thing is, mobility is great, but mobility without stability is where people get injured. So a lot of times if you have only, I'm going to use some simple numbers here because my math is terrible. If you have, you're supposed to have 90 degrees of range of motion in a certain joint, and someone only has 45, well, first it's unlocking getting into that 45 they're missing, but also making sure they have the stability there, so as not when they go past the 45 that they were at, as they go past it, that they don't get injured. Well, the problem is with someone who's hypermobile may have not only full range of motion, but extra range of motion, but they don't have the muscular strength and endurance to hold their bones and joints in proper alignment so as not to get injured. So yeah, someone who's mobile or suffers from hypermobility syndrome definitely needs to strengthen up particular muscles or muscle groups to create a stronger foundation, more stability in those joints and the surrounding musculature. Okay. Nivas goes on to say, as shown in the image, and I'm actually going to go over to a share screen so you can see what it is he's referring to. Later on, I'm going to toy around with sharing only certain windows, but for right now, I'm not that skilled in these Google Hangouts, still fairly new, so excuse me while I get new to them. All right, I'm going to zoom in here. Make that a little bigger. Boom. Okay. As shown in the image, hopefully you guys, can you see that? Yeah. Okay, cool. As shown in the image, can you sit like this in cross-legged? Because I've heard many can't. And is this bad or good posture? Need your insights on this. So I think, Nivas, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, what you're asking is, number one, can I personally sit like that? And yes, I can. And the other is, should you, should I, should any of us sit like that? Is it good for your posture? Well, people always ask me what's the best position to sit in and stand in and things like that, but especially sitting, because we do so much of it. People always ask, yeah, when I sit, I slouch and everything. What's the best position to sit in? And my answer is always the same, which is your next position is your best position. There's no one perfect sitting position. Yes, if you kind of went on from red to green, red being bad and green being good, there's a scale of better sitting positions, but there's no one that is perfect. So ideally, you want to change up how you're sitting, about every, 5 minutes. You just don't want to get stuck, because remember, your body is a stimulus response organism and responds to stimulus 24/7 without prejudice. Therefore, it's what you do the majority of the time that matters, not your best intentions. Okay. So sitting like this child is doing is fine. Just don't always sit with the left leg on the bottom. Try to switch it up, okay? And I'm actually going to be, I think in the future, I'm going to put together kind of I guess you can say kind of a poster or some kind of digital thing to show you examples, dozens and dozens of different types of ways that you can sit. And I'll go back over here. Let's stop here. So I'm sitting, I usually stand while I'm working, but if I pan down here, I'm sitting regularly, and I'm sitting with a small arch in my back, right? Knees, hips, about 90 degrees. But as I'm doing these shows, I might tuck one foot under here like this, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't want to stay here. Then you may want to, switch and put the other leg underneath, or sit Indian style. Or I believe on the other show, I'm trying to remember who asked the question, but we were talking about living and training in balance in order to regain balance in your life, physically, posture-wise. So if you are, let me put this back, if you have trouble getting flexion in your left hip, well, a great way to practice it without having to take time and train is maybe you're working on the computer, is bringing that left leg towards you, and just, as you're working there, you'll start to realize, oh my gosh, I feel some work going on in the front of my hip. And it's because your hip isn't used to being in that amount of flexion. So again, think of what positions are you putting your body in the majority of the time. Ask yourself what type of motions you're trying to do. And when it comes to sitting, your next position is your best position. Okay, so mix it up. Sometimes get rid of the chair, sit on the floor, lean on one side, lean on the other. You can do kind of, okay, this chair is probably too small, but something like a diva pose, where you have, imagine if I was on the floor, and I'll scoot back here. If one leg was out, and let's say this was the floor, and you have one leg turned in, one leg turned out, and then after a few minutes, you can switch it like so. Again, this is not ideal to do on a chair, better to do on a floor, on the floor, or any floor, I guess. Okay, so Nivas, hopefully that helps you out. And I'll try to get some images together for some other sitting suggestions, okay? And let's see, moving on to the next one. Samuel Hopper, who I believe also wrote on a past show, says, I think my posture problem is getting worse. And I believe Samuel, if I'm correct, wrote in earlier about trying to tell the difference between lordosis and swayback, something that when people are trying to correct their posture and get out of pain is something people often get confused. And I don't think it's most people's fault. It's mostly how it's explained and taught. I've been probably guilty of it myself at some point. So anyway, Samuel says, I think my posture problem is getting worse. I still don't know what it is. In ideals, I'd say whichever problem type it is causing breathing difficulty, which triggers anxiety for me, which escalates the breathing issue, especially when I'm driving. Now, Samuel has emailed me some pictures and given me permission to share them with the audience. So I'm going to do that now and kind of go over with you guys what I'm seeing. Okay. All right. And let's go here. Okay. So from this side, he was mostly talking about, for those of you who didn't see the past episode, whether he has lordosis, swayback, what have you. One thing definitely can be sure from this photo is he has an anterior tilt, which just means his ASIS, or anterior superior iliac spine, this little bony point on the front of your pelvis, is higher than the PSIS, the bony protrusion on the back side of you, just to the left and to the right. You have two of your tailbone. So that's your PSIS, your posterior superior iliac spine. Basically, if you look at the waistband of his, I think he's wearing pants there, and boxers, you can see it's tilted forward. So you have an anterior pelvic tilt, okay? As well as if you look at in this mirror where he's shooting from, his ankle's probably about down here. We can't see it, but pretty easy to kind of imagine it's down this way. His knee is in front of his ankle, and his hip is a little bit in front of his knee. So his hips or pelvis is anteriorly shifted forward. Now, this is the tilt. If you follow, hopefully you guys can see the mouse there. That's the tilt forward. I'm just going to make sure. I've done this once before. Good. I was making sure I was sharing the screen. I did that one past episode where you couldn't see the screen. Anyways, so you can see the anterior pelvic tilt. That's the tilt forward. The shift is that his hips and pelvis are shifted forward of the center of gravity. The center of gravity being where his ankle joint is. Okay. So let's scroll down. Here we can see this light shining through, and you can see quite an extreme lordosis. Lordosis basically being an inward curve in the lower back, more than what is acceptably normal. So we have an anterior tilt and lordosis, the inward curvature of the lower back. And those two things don't always, but often go together, okay? And we can still see the anterior shift. On this photo, actually doesn't seem as much, but it's still there slightly, okay? Granted, it looks like a little torso rotation, but quite honestly, that could just be because he's holding this tablet, which I am guessing that's what's taking the picture. Yeah, if I always tell people, great to look at yourself in the mirror. If you have someone that can take the pictures for you, even better. All right, let's keep scrolling down. This one, pretty much the same thing as before. This one, same thing, just from a slightly different angle, okay? And again, looks like a little torso rotation, but again, that could be being seen by the camera because of the angle the picture's taken at and him holding the tablet. Same thing here. There were some other photos that I want to get. Here, again, from the other side, big arch in the lower back. Now, think of the spine as a whip and think of the pelvis as a handle. So if you're doing this, if you're watching this and you're sitting, try this. Slouch in your seat. Let your butt tuck under and let your back round, okay? And you'll notice the arch in your lower back is no more. It's either flat or even kind of rounded C shape. Now try to sit up, not by sticking your chest out and pulling your shoulders back, but by rolling your hips forward, like you're trying to stick out your butt. Try to sit up nice and tall from your hips. So if your pelvis was a punch bowl, think about moving it in such a way that the punch would pour out the front of the punch bowl. And when you do that, you'll realize, there's a significant increase in the arch in your lower back. That's how the pelvis, right? You got left and right pelvis. In between, you have a tailbone. And that's where the sacrum is, and that's what the spine is based on. So if the spine is the whip, the pelvis is the handle to the whip, okay? And then just think about all the Indiana Jones movies, and it becomes pretty simple to understand. Here too, you can see the hips are anterior shifted forward. Same thing, just a different angle. Now, here from the front, something very interesting, and we start to see a lot of asymmetries. We can see that his torso, right, or the thoracic area of his spine, his upper torso, is kind of leaning to his left. This would be, I'm looking at the picture on my right, but his left. It looks like his left shoulder is lower than his right. Okay, and you can even see kind of the sternum. It goes down to about here, and then it starts to straighten out from about here down through the belly button. Okay, and it also appears that the right hip is lower than the left. So another thing, like I said, the hips and pelvis, they're the handle, the spine is the whip. The hips and pelvis are also the foundation to the spine. So if you saw a house and it was kind of, or a building, and it was listing to one side, and you took a look at the foundation, you thought, oh, it's several feet lower on one side. Well, what's that going to do to the structure above? Well, we can see pretty clearly here. And then if you look down, he's wearing pants, so I can't really tell which direction his knees are pointed. But look down at this one, his left one, and you can see his foot is externally rotated out compared to his right. His right is only turned out a little, almost straight ahead, but the left is turned out. It almost looks like from this picture, granted the mirror cuts off part of it, but at roughly 45 degrees. So a lot of asymmetries going on here. Let's continue scroll down. Here you can even see more clearly. So we got left shoulder lower than right. Part of that could be because holding the tablet, but I think it's already there. It's just exaggerated because he's holding the tablet. You've got the thoracic offset leaning to the left. That's where the upper spine leans or kind of shifts over to one side, in this case, the left. You got the right hip lower than the left. And then, yeah, we can see here the foot on the left more externally rotated. And here's a clearer sign where you can see the shoulders, definitely one lower, clearly the offset. And I think we see the same thing pretty much in, yep, all the others. And I think some of these are repeats. Yes, I'm just quickly going through. And you can definitely see, when I say thoracic offset, it's usually what people refer to as scoliosis. I'm just quickly scrolling through, make sure we didn't miss any. Yep, you definitely one hip higher than the other. That's a good picture to make that very evident. So, all right, so now we know what we're dealing with. Let me grab a clearer picture here. Uh-oh, there we go. I thought it froze. It did freeze. All right, well, I'm gonna leave it there. So basically, and I'm gonna make sure you didn't have any other follow-up questions. No. So Samuel, I would say definitely, like I said, you've got the from the top down, and I'm going to find a better picture. There's a lot of them. You've got the left shoulder higher than the right. So you have an elevated shoulder. You have the thoracic offset to the left. You've got an elevated hip, the left side higher, and you have a externally foot on the left, most likely a knee. I can't say for sure because I can't see your kneecaps. People also may refer to this as scoliosis, but not too much sway back. So here's what I would recommend posturally to kind of get the ball rolling, and then we'll go over some lifestyle stuff. Okay, so let's go over here. And for those of you who don't know, I still do, I just don't put any more work into it, run a site called thepostureguy.com. Optimizedself.ninja is basically the successor to the Posture Guy. So I regularly reference a lot of material on here because, well, it's there and I've created it, and it's still as good today as it was when I created it. So Samuel, you've probably seen this post, the difference between swayback and lordosis. I'll make sure to link all these up in the show notes. By show notes, I mean the description underneath the YouTube video with links, and I'll also timestamp the parts where I answer each of these questions today. So you can watch the whole thing from beginning to end if you'd like, or you can just click on the spot in the description area and it'll take you right to that spot. Okay, so I'd recommend, if you haven't already, watch this video. This goes for anybody else who's interested in learning the difference between swayback versus lordosis if you think you might be suffering from one or the other or both. Okay, and inside, here's some more links. And I would look at the short and tight versus long and taut athletic types lordosis. So this goes here. Okay, and this tells you how to tell which one you are. Well, I'll help save you some time. You are the short and tight. Okay, so if you click this one, this will give you the exercise routine here. Each of these open up a video tutorial of what exercises you should do. So this will help take care of the lordosis. So do the exercise for the time, sets, reps that it calls for. Make sure to do them in order and do this at least once per day for the next couple of days to a week, and then keep me posted. The other video and condition I'd recommend taking a look at is the what condition is your posture? Again, I'll link all these up in the show notes, and then look at the condition 2 routine. Okay, now all of this is posture based. Obviously, that's what this website, this endeavor of mine was on. I refer to myself as the posture guy. I've been doing postural alignment therapy for about 8 years now, and posture is great. Okay, postural corrective exercises are great at, of course, correcting posture to get you out of pain. Now, you also mentioned some difficulty that it causes breathing, and that leads to anxiety. Well, here's what I've added on top of posture when it comes to the Optimized Self system. Okay, so this, for those of you who haven't seen it, or I think it's a good review, is what I refer to as the 7 foundations of health. And I put them in this kind of pyramid format with the most important foundation on the bottom. Okay, and that starts with breathing, then hydration, sleep, nutrition, stress, movement, and exercise, with environment and mindset always circling them because they're always influencing those 7 foundations of health, either positively or negatively. And I'm just going to, yes, I'm making sure that you guys can see my screen, because now I'm nervous. Sometimes I'm talking, and if no one's watching live and tells me, oh, we can't see the screen, then I don't know. So excuse me for that, just checking. So the reason I have them set up here and why exercise is at the top, it's not because exercise is the most important, quite the contrary. Although exercise is a very important part of optimizing yourself and getting out of pain and all that thing, it's actually the least efficient way to go about achieving your health, fitness, and wellness goals. It is important, but I would first recommend that you start by optimizing your breathing, your hydration, and your sleep. That's why I have marked here. That's stage 1. That's to recover your health. After that, working on optimizing your nutrition and your stress to upgrade your fitness, and then working on movement and exercise to optimize. And these are stages, one that builds on top of the other. So when you go, oh, hey, okay, I got my breathing under control, you don't just jump to hydration, you continue the breathing, okay? Now, I can go really, really deep into how you would do each of these. For breathing, what I would recommend is simply lying down on your back with your legs up on a chair, couch, or ottoman at 90 degrees. Basically what's called the static back position. So you're lying on your back, arms out, anywhere between 90 and 40 degrees from your shoulders and torso. And you're just relaxing. You're not doing anything. And given the lordosis we saw in the picture, Samuel, you're going to probably feel a significant arch in your lower back, a space between your lower back and the floor. And that's okay. Don't try to push it flat, but I just want you to be aware of it. And then again, with your legs up at 90 degrees, I don't know how tall you are. For reference, I'm 5'8", 18-inch ottoman or chair does fine for me. It does for most people. If you're a bit taller, put a pillow or folded up blanket on top to make it a little taller. But you want your knees and hips at 90 degrees. And while you're there, you're just going to breathe in and out through your nose, in and out through your nose. And you want to try to do so in about a 1-to-2 ratio of inhale to exhale. So 3 seconds in, for example, and 6 seconds out, exhale, for example, all in and out through the nose. And you want to try to direct that breath towards your diaphragm, okay? So let me turn up the camera and so I can give you some visuals. Okay, so you want to be breathing here into your side. So if you do kind of a Superman pose, and you can practice this standing or you can do it lying on the ground, and so when you inhale, it should press your fingers out, almost like if you're blowing up a balloon and you blow a balloon up in your hands and it expands. That's how it should feel, as well as your lower back inflating towards the ground. And over 5 to 10 minutes of doing this, you should feel the lower back flatten. And remember what I said, that the hips and the pelvis are the handle, okay, and of the whip, and the spine is the whip. So probably when you start on the ground, right, and you have that lordosis, you're going to be like this with that arch in lower back. After 5 to 10 minutes, your pelvis is going to unlock. It's going to start to go to a more neutral position. And then as a result of that, your spine, vertebra by vertebra, segmentally, will start to relax. The musculature around it's going to start to relax. And it's going to go back to a neutral position, both the pelvis and then the spine, starting from the lumbar up to the mid-back, then to the upper and the thoracic. And it's going to allow your entire spine to extend. And it's also going to be using the floor as basically a giant ruler to make sure your shoulders and your hips are in alignment. There's none of that rotation, okay? At the same time, you're doing this 5 to 10 minutes. I would say do it 2 to 3 times per day. You're going to be myelinating the nerves, basically training through your central nervous system, focusing on your breathing, how to redirect the breathing down here to the diaphragm. Because I guarantee you right now, if you look at yourself in the mirror, Samuel, or anybody who has similar posture, is you're breathing thoracically and clavicularly. So you're breathing up here rather down here. You might go, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? I'm breathing, I'm not dead. And that's true. But the average human takes 22 to 30,000 breaths per day. So think about it. That's 22 to 30,000 subpar or suboptimal breaths you're taking. You're not getting enough blood and oxygen to different areas of your body, especially your brain, and which then makes you feel overstressed and anxiety and everything, as well as then your body has to make up for it, it has to compensate. And that's going to come from here. And that's why you're so tight and locked up and leaning to one side. Or I won't say the only reason, but a major contributor to it. Okay. So just focusing on that breathing, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes, inhale, exhale through the nose, 1-to-2 ratio, inhale to exhale in the static back position. You can throw your legs up on a block, kind of like I have right there, blocking the door. Just lay down on the ground, legs up. That'd be perfect. There's probably, I think, in one of the exercise routines that I linked up to below on lordosis or the condition 2, there's static back, and you can check it out there. Okay, so I would start there really with breathing. And when it comes to anxiety and stress, breathing is actually the fastest way, almost like a volume knob, to turn up or turn down your stress levels. And if you guys want to try this at home, take just 3 breaths. Inhale, exhale through your nose. Try to keep it low down in your diaphragm and do 1-to-2 ratio. So and just do that 3 times and you'll realize, wow, I do feel a sense of calmness kind of coming over me. Versus if you were wanting to wake up, almost give you, if you're driving home late one night and you notice you're kind of nodding off, granted, you probably should pull over. Here's a quick way, is breathe really, really fast in and out through your nose forcefully. So for example, and I know this is silly, so I'm gonna bring up the camera just to see how silly I look, but try this, go. And you'll actually feel all the musculature in what most people consider the core engage, and you'll realize this kind of jolt, not electric, but a jolt of energy kind of to your brain. You're like, whoa. Okay, so you have a direct influence over your energy levels and the quantity and the quality of the blood and oxygen that goes to your brain and to all of the area parts of your body by simply controlling and altering your breath. Pretty cool, huh? Hydration, you saw the pictures before. If you're in a bad postural state, and we can see from the postural, Samuel, okay, just be honest, got some work to do, right? We all do. Well, if you want things to move, but the muscle and the tissue that's holding there is not properly hydrated, it's like trying to take beef jerky and make it pliable and move it, right? It doesn't work. It either doesn't go anywhere or it rips and tears. We don't want that for your body. So you want to make sure that you're properly hydrated. You want to drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day minimum. And that's of water, not of liquids. Other liquids from other drinks and foods is good, but I'm talking pure H2O. See, right there. I did not plan that. That was my waterlogged app telling me to drink water, so I will. And if you need help reminding, again, waterlogged app. All this more in depth too is inside the Optimized Self Dojo, which I'll touch on in just a little bit, but let's keep going. Sleep. If you have that much lordosis in your lower back, the position, actually, I'll say before we even get to position, what you do before you go to bed is going to dictate the position of the body that you bring to bed, as well as what's the position you're staying in. Because you might do half an hour of postural corrective exercise and feel benefit from it. But if you are sleeping 5, 6, 7, 8 or more hours every 24-hour cycle, every day or every night in a posture, form follows function. So it's what you do the majority of the time that matters. That's conducive to poor posture, creating that lordosis. Well, that's not going to be beneficial. So for people suffering from lordosis like Samuel, I would recommend to have 0 or 1 pillow under the head, and then 1, 2, or more if need be under your lower legs, basically under about here. And what that'll do is at least put the pelvis in a bit more of a neutral position. So the lower back and the muscles surrounding it, also around the pelvis, could relax. Okay, so try that. And I would start with there. There's a lot more that we can get into in each of those foundations of health. There's a lot more when it comes to nutrition, stress, movement. We talked a little bit about exercise, your environment, how it affects your posture and your breathing and your anxiety and mindset, you know, and all these things. And so I wanted to share with you the posture related stuff, but I don't want you to go at this with the what I refer to as single factor focus, kind of blinders on and looking at just posture and just exercise. Because if you do that, you know, your results are going to be little, if any. I would say you would get results, but they're going to be short-lived, and you'd be doing yourself a huge disservice if you don't include the other foundations of health. And tackling all 7 right now, I think, is going to be too much. So I'd focus on the first 3: breathing, hydration, and sleep. Okay. Speaking of which, this is a good time. Let me share the screen here again. Give me a second. Boom. Awesome. So if you want to learn more, and I'm just checking where we are in time and what else we have to go. Yeah. Oh, sorry if I'm giving anybody motion sickness. I'm trying to find the right page. Sammy, if you want to learn more about the Optimized Self Dojo, and I totally recommend that you join. Love to have you as a member, because everything inside you get access to a private Facebook group. It's different than the Facebook page. This is for Optimized Self Dojo members only. We do private weekly trainings. There's built-in accountability and support, and there's also access to what I refer to as the Optimized Self Arsenal, which I made mention to earlier in this show. There is basically the arsenal is an accumulation of tools, guides, resources to teach you how to optimize all the 7 foundations of your health and a lot more. I'm not going to bore you by going through each and every one of them, but if you go to Optimized Self Ninja, you can take a look-see. Basically, this is everything that is included, including the bonuses, everything that's included inside the dojo. Okay, and then when you're ready to get started, you could click here. This will take you to the memberships, and actually I have to update this. Right now, the lowest price you can get is $11, and each membership goes up $1. Okay, so you can get it right now at the lowest price. It's a lifetime membership. You only have to pay once, $11. The next one, you know, whoever's the 12th one to come and get it, boom, that's the 12th. And yeah, it's huge, because if you actually go back here and you add up everything that's included, just in the first year, there's $3,650 worth of value. That's just in the first year. And it doesn't quite double the next year, but there's just more and more each year. Okay. The other thing too, if you scroll down to the bottom, if you think you need, Samuel, or this goes for anybody else watching, more kind of one-on-one work, if you think, hey, the group stuff is great, but maybe you want to work one-on-one, either an individual session or retainers, there's links down here. Okay, so I offer 4 individual one-on-one sessions per month, which you could reserve here, and then we can hop on Skype or Google Hangouts. I prefer Google Hangouts because I can record it and then give you the private link to watch it back, because I think repetition is important. That way you can, if you said, oh, I learned a lot of great stuff in there, you can watch it back unlimited amounts, you know, at your convenience. So you can learn more about that. And then the retainers, which are also linked to on the optimizedself.ninja, are here. And there's monthly, quarterly, half-year, and annual retainers. Those are limited. There's only a few for the year, because I want to put my time and effort into the Optimized Self Dojo. I will say, you know, it is the best bang for your buck, especially right now. But even if, you know, someone gets the last membership of the year, which will be number 365 for $365, you're still getting it at 1/10 of the cost. So it's amazing value, and I would recommend you start there. And if you need any more, that's what the retainers and the individual sessions are for. Okay, Samuel? Anyways, hope that answers your question, gets you started down the right path. And let me take... let me take this off. All right. And I think we got one more question. Yep. This one is, From David Hammer, who I've had the pleasure of working with in the past. He asked, have you heard of any of your clients had any effect on their vision after changing posture and releasing old tensions? I started seeing a bit blurry on the right eye about 2 weeks ago, but it hasn't progressed more so far. Then after some more tension release yesterday, I noticed a slight reduction on the left eye also. I'm going to check this out with my doctor, but to me it seems to have to do with the change in tension, and I have had a lot of tension in my face also. David, yes, very good questions. I have to say one that I don't get often asked too often, maybe moderately, some a little bit less than moderately. But good question. Yes, your posture and your vision do correlate with one another. And here's something very common that people realize. If their head, let me turn to the side here, if their head is forward of their shoulder, right? What in posture lingo we just refer to as forward head, okay, keep in mind that your sight, okay, your balance is basically taken care of or gauged by your sight and your inner ear. Well, as your head moves back, think about, just if you think in terms of tubes and lines, like electrical lines, think of the distance from, you know, the rest of your body here. Okay, your eyes are much further forward, further away from the heart, from your spine, which is kind of the main canal for your central nervous system. Okay, that one was not a waterlogged reminder, that was a game. Sorry about that. So your head's forward, and usually what happens is people's posture improves, and as their head comes back into alignment, meaning directly over their shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles, usually what happens is their inner ear recalibrates. And the best way I describe kind of an inner ear is if you've ever built something and you've used one of those levelers, right? That'll deal with the bubble in the middle, and you set it on something to see if it's level, and you want the bubble, there's like 3 lines, and you don't want the bubble way left or way right, you want it right in the middle. That's how your inner ear works, more or less. And if it's here, that bubble goes to one side, but if it's there long enough, your brain, your balance, as well as your eyes all compensate, and it gets used to it, resets that as the new normal. So imagine on the leveler, that bubble goes to one side, like far to the right, but it's been there for so long, it recalibrates way to the right as the center. So then, which isn't, it's good in that your body's able to do that, but it's bad because it's compensating, right? It'd be like you get a flat tire, you put the spare on, but you never put another tire on. You just always on spares, you know, not a good idea. So your head is here, way far forward of the rest of your body, and now your head comes back into alignment. Well, what do you think happens to that bubble in the leveler? It goes back towards the center, which is good. But relative to where that bubble's been for quite some time, way to one side, in this example, let's stay with, we said way to the right, way to the right, well, now it's back into the center, but not always, but commonly, people will experience a little bit of vertigo, a little bit of dizziness, sometimes blurred vision, because also what's happening too is your eyes, relative to the rest of your body, your shoulders and everything else, are coming back into alignment. So the pressure and the distance that blood and oxygen have to go to your eyes, the distance, I'm sorry, I think I said distance, the distance and the pressure of blood and oxygen to your eyes is going to change, which is also going to change their ability in the muscles in your eye to focus. So yes, it's not uncommon. I won't say it's very, very common, but it's definitely not uncommon for people to say, yeah, as I notice changes in my posture, my vision is changing. Sometimes it's blurry, but then it gets better. And it's usually blurry for a little bit, or sometimes people experience dizziness, kind of vertigo type symptoms, because it's that transitional period. It's that bubble that has gotten quite accustomed to being way to one side, moving back to the middle, which is good, but it's kind of like that, I don't know, pre-pubescent stage that we all have gone through, right? And it's like really kind of awkward and everything. That's what your body's going through. It's going through where it used to be to where you want it to be, which is better. It's just kind of growing or transitional pains or symptoms or side effects. Okay, so definitely, I think it's great to have it checked out by by your doctor. I know Dave and I have talked about on breathing, hydration, sleep, and the other foundations of health, which I think David is, last time I spoke to him, he's doing right on. For anybody else, do check those things, because also breathing, hydration, sleep, all those things could affect your eyesight, especially certain foods that you have inflammatory responses to, that you may not know. So unless you've done an elimination diet, unless you've done a Coca Pulse test, unless you've taken some type of food intolerance blood test, you can't know for certain. So I'd recommend any of those. Someone actually just signed up to the Optimized Self Ninja Dojo. Thank you. I didn't quite see who that was, but that was interesting that it just popped up. It's kind of awesome doing this show live. But now I just forgot my place. I'm so excited that someone just popped in. I was talking about foundations of health and how they affect eyesight. Again, total health is accumulative, so it's not just in any one area. And again, I'd be doing you and everyone a huge disservice if we focus on just one thing like exercise or one thing just like nutrition. It all has to come together. But David, that's what I would tell you and tell anyone else. Yes, it's pretty normal. And if you kind of notice as your posture change, there's a correlation. Hey, if I have better posture, it feels this way, or my vision does this thing. And then if I change it, kind of manipulate it, negative or positively, I can get this effect. And you notice that correlation. Trust your instincts. You're probably right. Last thing I will leave everyone with in terms of head position, right? Do not try to forcefully extend head up, because a lot of people have this rounded back, forward head, and it pushes their head down, and they'll try to do this, and it hyperextends their neck, right? Which causes more pain. So instead of tilting your head up, think about if someone took on the kind of crown of your head, one of the top hairs, and pulled up and back, okay? That also goes for posture cues. If anybody's ever told you, stick your chest out and shoulders back, that actually creates more postural problems than it fixes. So instead, just think about head up and back. An easy way to do this is go stand with your back to a wall. And don't try to do anything, but just see, does the back of your head touch the wall? A lot of people, it doesn't, and that's okay. But now, very gently, using your neck and upper back muscles, pull your head up and back, and you'll realize the musculature in your upper back, even before your neck, that's what starts to tense. And by tense, I mean in a good way, like if you're lifting a weight, like you'll feel those muscles working. That's what you want to be using to keep your head up and back, not the sticking the chest out, pulling the shoulders back, okay? That's an artificial way of doing it. Just think head up and back instead of chest out and shoulders back, all right? Head up and back. So I think that covers today's questions. I'm sure, if anybody's watching has follow-up, you can leave them in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Again, if you have any new questions or like to come on the show or anything, then I would definitely recommend, I would ask of you, go to the Optimized Self Facebook page, and it's at facebook.com/Optimized Self Ninja. And while you're there, go ahead and like the page, and then at the top, leave your question for me to answer. If you see a question that you wanted to ask but someone else asked, just go ahead and like it. And if you can think of anyone that can benefit from the show, or you say, hey, ask Justin a question or go on the show with him, please invite them over to Optimized Self Ninja. You can also find me on YouTube, youtube.com/Optimized Self Ninja. While you're there, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go ahead, like the videos, and just please let me know what I can do to be a service to you and provide as much value as possible. That's what the show is all about, is helping you and everyone else become the absolute best version of themselves possible, so that together we can go out and positively influence the world together. All right. So with all that said, I'm going to sign off here and leave you with some of these. I have to remember to put some annotations across some of these buttons so that over on YouTube you can click and find out more about each of these areas of the Optimized Self Ninja. All right. Anyways, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time and attention. I look forward to seeing you inside the next episode. But until then, take care and be a good human.